G'day guys, Chief here. Another weekly episode of N9G, your one-stop shop for what is now a little bit of gaming talk, discussion, walkthroughs, etc. But mostly just shit talk, a little bit of world news, just something to broaden the mind, some food for thought. With me as always, best mate Turtle. Mate, how you doing today?
Gone bloody awesome, Chief. It's a beautiful, windy day down in Victoria. So, what could be better?
A beautiful sunny day in Queensland.
Exactly right, mate. It's fucking shitting me.
That's it, man. What's going on? What's news?
Well, not a whole lot on my end personally, but there is a few things I'd like to touch on in trade week this week, mate.
Sure, let's cover it. Start us off, bro.
Well, as we all know, I'm an avid Blues supporter, so I am quite impressed that the club got Adam Sard just recently. We recently acquired him. However, I do think we actually paid overs for him. So I don't know if you're aware, Chief, but we paid pick 8 and pick 87 or something like that. Which the last pick's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. For Sard and a second rounder coming back to us. Now, I understand that Sard has, he came from Gold Coast and
Yep.
has performed admirably for the Bombers over the past 4 years and finished top 3 in their BNF 3 of the 4 years or all years, something like that. But they paid a fourth rounder for him. Now, I understand that he's developed and grown as a player and obviously added worth to his
Yep.
status as a player. I don't think he's worth a top 10 draft pick, though.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Look, I'm not that up to date with Sard's career at the moment. Because who the fuck watches Essendon these days? But yeah, from everything I saw, I thought Essendon was playing hardball on it. Which look, they're entirely entitled to do. It's their prerogative. And it's not as if they've got anything to lose because their list, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty poor. And they've got that whole pride issue, an ego issue with being a bigger club and a foundation club where they have to be seen like they can't be the bottom of the ladder. So their risk for reward ratio will be pretty
Yeah.
pretty aggressive, I think, in this trade period, and I think it will be in the next few years. Now they'll play hardball with a lot of clubs. They may even be a bit unreasonable, but I think that's sort of what their supporters would expect. But I agree with you. I think the Blues perhaps overpaid for Sard.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't think it's a massive overpay for him, but I do think we have overpaid for him.
Yeah.
So that's just my thoughts. But in saying that, though, I am glad that he's through the door now, and that we don't need to worry about it at all. The Blues can focus in on, I don't know, trying to get a pick in the first round again this year, or if not, trying to orchestrate a few deals for next year.
Yeah, because I think just for the viewers' information, we're recording this on the day of the deadline, so trade period finishes tonight. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether look, as is the nature of trade period, there will always be last minute deals done. So any information we give you about this is probably going to be not quite as accurate or not as up to date on the Saturday or Sunday when this will go to air. And I'm sure there'll be massive developments. I would expect Carlton to go for a first rounder before the deadline finishes tonight.
Yeah, from a supporter's point of view, I hope so. But I can also understand if they don't, because we have got two very good players in through the door, in Zach Williams and Sard, and we've also picked up a youngster by the name of Lockie Fogarty, I think it is.
Yep.
Now I don't know too much about him, so I can't.
Geelong boy, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a Geelong boy, but I can't comment on him because I just don't know much.
Yeah.
Much about it. But yeah, I hope we do, but I can understand if we don't. What I find interesting, though, Chief, is the Treloar updates and situation, mate.
Yeah, yeah. So why don't you provide us just a brief rundown of the current situation because that is developed into something really rare that we see in AFL these days.
Well, the entire situation, mate, has turned completely toxic.
Mm.
Trelaw has stated several times in the past few days that he will not be returning to Collingwood. The state of affairs that have happened there has just completely ruined his relationship with the club. And I don't blame him, to be honest.
No, not at all. He's effectively in a situation where he's been unfairly dismissed, has challenged it, and has won, but it has been left with no other option than to go back to his place of work. But the problem is that's just untenable. I mean, I don't think there'll be an issue with regards to the playing group. I think all the reports that came from Collingwood that sent his way that the senior group had lost faith in him and didn't want him there. I think that's fucking rubbish. And
That's an utter lie,
yeah,
mate. An utter lie.
if that because the report that I read said that had come from Bucks in a conversation that had, man, if that's true, like Buckley has lost a great deal of respect in my eyes if that's the case. Like
Yeah.
yeah, Buckley's not a fucking teddy bear. He's not big and soft and cuddly. Cool, get that. That's not his character. But there's a difference between being the hard man and making the right calls and being a fucking prick.
Yeah, and he's definitely in that latter category with regards to Trelaw. And I just don't understand how can you do this to a player who has so valiantly served your club in the past 5 years?
Well, that's right, but it also, man, I think it puts him in such a bad position with trades going forward because I mean they've been trying to get Gunston over from the Hawks, right? And
Right?
they've consider this from his point of view. So Trelaw had a contract put in front of him for 5 years, bit of stability, security, X amount of money, no worries. And then a couple of years later, the club's turned around and gone, well, in reality, we fucked up the salary cap. We need some of that money back, and by the way, we need you to fuck off so the
Yeah.
club can continue. Um, other people that they've approached the trades are going to look at this and go, well, hang on a minute, is that going to happen to me? Is this 5 year contract? Is this 3 year contract? Whatever it is for X hundred thousand or $1 million. Is this a real contract, or am I going to be in the same situation as Trelaw's in a couple of years' time? In which case, no, I'm going to go and talk to the Bulldogs, or I'm going to go talk to Carlton, or I'm going to go talk to the other destination clubs, like just so happens the Saints are at the moment. Because why the
Yeah.
fuck would you want
Yeah.
to come to that club right now?
Absolutely, mate. Well, they have completely screwed their salary cap up.
Yeah,
Completely screwed it up. And don't quote me on this, Chief, but I'm fairly confident that I read somewhere that Collingwood will pay 100 grand of Trelaw's contract to the club that picks him up.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that's correct too. They will be paying out the remainder of his salary, regardless of whether he's playing or not. Which
Now,
Man, that might be the case. He might not end up with a club at the moment.
well, for me, if they're going to say, rightio, we'll pay 100 grand of the club, someone's going to pick him up. No club's going to pick him up and pay 1.1 million for Trelaw, because maybe not 1.1 million, but I think he's on. I think he's on the higher end of six figures, possibly seven figures, in the last year of his
Yeah,
contract. If they're going to,
yeah, if the team's pay scales are comparable to effectively there, if you were to rank the players in Collingwood, I would agree too. I think he would be easily within the top sort of six or
well, I
seven.
think his contract was heavily back ended at the start. So for the
Hmm.
first 2 years or so, he was playing. He was playing for literal peanuts, and
Yep.
in the final years, he was going to make up the difference. But if I was a club, I would turn around and say to Collingwood, "Yeah, we'll pick up Trelaw, but we want you to pay 400,000 of his contract." That they clearly don't want him at the club, so they're desperate to get rid of him. Why not take advantage of that?
Well, I think the problem is that Collingwood can't afford to do that. This is the
Then they've
reason.
got to sort out. Then Collingwood have to sort out something, don't they?
Well, I mean, the problem is, I think they've backed themselves in a corner where they simply don't have the cash for it because, man, I would not be surprised if actually we see this more and more and more with the bigger clubs that have the bigger funds for footy departments who want to out off field, whereby they struggle more and more and more to be on an equal playing field with the rest of the
Yeah,
competition because you get in that mind. If think about it, if you're a millionaire, right, and you go into business negotiations, you come in with a certain
yeah,
mindset as opposed to someone who deals with tens of thousands of dollars. So when you're both, and then say a governing body comes in and says, like the AFL, and says, right, you both have a budget of $100,000. Well, the person that
yeah,
is used to spending the tens of thousands of dollars is going to be much more effective and much more economical with that $100,000 than the millionaire. So I think that's an issue that's come up with Collingwood in the last. Well, I mean, this stuff like problems like this don't just happen over one season; they happen over 5 or 6 seasons, and they just culminate in a season or two.
yeah. And the other thing as well is no club is imperfect to this.
No,
It happens at every single club.
yeah, that's right,
Maybe not this specific issue, but variations of different issues happen at every single club.
100%.
All right, mate. Jeremy Cameron.
Yeah,
Geelong offered 2 first-round picks.
mm,
GWS knocked that back.
yeah.
Who's in the right? GWS or Geelong? I'm
Do you,
interested.
do you know what? Initially I sided with Geelong, and then I read more about it, and I actually side with GWS. The reason I side with
Yep.
GWS is because GWS are saying we're going to lose 2 goals a game minimum. We're losing a dude that is very capable of kicking
Yep.
70 or 80 goals this season in a full length season.
I actually think he's capable of kicking the ton, mate.
Oh, I certainly is, but I mean, we've been
Generous.
I'm I'm lowballing it,
Yeah.
just for the sake of negotiation.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is tall power forwards like Cameron that are as mobile as Cameron are super rare. Like the only other one I can think of in recent memory that's been like him has been Buddy, because Hawkins is different. Yeah, Hawkins is different. He's a big power bear, right? But he doesn't move around like Cameron does. Apart from that, I mean,
I'll tell you who is. Eric Hipwood. He's not as good as Cameron, but he's as mobile as Cameron.
well, that actually strengthens my point because okay, he's got one of those strengths. He's got the strength of his mobility and his agility around the ground, but he doesn't have the effectiveness because he doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't kick the fucking 2 or 3 goals a game that Cameron does. So
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
I mean, I think because I'm pretty sure what GWS wants is they go, we want those 2 picks you've offered, and we want a player and potentially another pick like a late second rounder or a third rounder.
Well, what I've read, it's either 3 first rounders
Mm-hmm.
or 2 first rounders and an established player.
Yeah, I think that's probably worth it. But I also don't think that there is a deal. I mean, unless Geelong offered them the farm, I do not believe there is a deal that would, in the long run, work in GWS's favour. I think unless fucking Geelong managed to give them like pick 2, and they ended up getting a Patrick Dangerfield, later down the line, like the next, obviously draft pick becomes Paddy Dangerfield also.
Mhm.
I don't think it would be comparable. I think GWS is going to be the losing team here, regardless of what they receive. So I think they're well within their rights to go, no, we have all the power here. You lot need to give us what he's worth. The issue I have is that Cameron's management has said and has been emphatic
Well,
that he will not be a GWS player next year. That does not help their position.
no, it doesn't, and they're gonna have to orchestrate a trade. Otherwise, Cameron's gonna have to go to the national draft or the preseason draft, and I think all the clubs that are keeping an eye on this would be legitimately stupid for not approaching Cameron.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You know, if I was North Melbourne, I would say, rightio, we've got pick, what is it, 2 or 3 in the preseason draft.
Mm.
Jezza, we will offer you 1.5 million a year for 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got the cap. They've got the cap space. North Melbourne haven't spent any money on any players So that they can comfortably spend that, and I think they should make a play for that.
Well, I think the problem with North Melbourne is that yes, they haven't spent any money on the players, but they also need to go and buy new washing machines and drying machines and dishwashers and stuff, new cutlery. They need to
Need
remove all the
go get
asbestos
a
from the footy department.
They need to get a pump to
Um,
pump the footies up.
yeah, exactly. They need to. I mean, shit. This is a club, right? Here's the thing. I saw this article this week that there was a. I imagine she was a very successful and reasonably famous Australian netball coach
Yep,
that applied for their coaching position.
yep.
Now, do you know what? That's actually really fucking insulting. If I'm a North Melbourne supporter and I'm North Melbourne, like I know they knocked her back quite promptly and good thing they did, but that's really fucking insulting. Because I think her argument hinged on, well, you're a team that wants to be successful. Why would you not hire a sporting coach that knows success? Yeah, in a completely different sport.
Yeah, yeah. It's a different game altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I don't know who this woman is, but yeah, that's very insulting to Dave. That's effectively the same as Mick Moldhouse saying, "All right, that's it. I'm going to go coach the Silver Ferns or the Matildas or whoever I don't know netball, whoever the fuck the Australian women's netball team is." Um, and if he did that,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Oz Netball would rightly go, "No, fuck off. Don't be so insulting. You don't know anything about this sport at this level. Not to mention, you don't know anything about coaching athletes of this gender at this level, which is a whole other thing, not to be discounted. A bit of a
yeah,
deviation, but yeah, if I'm,
yeah.
that's the position North Melbourne's in. Like they are borderline not at the level that is required to be an AFL club right now. I mean, this won't happen, but it probably wouldn't serve them poorly to go and spend a season or two in the VFL because that's where they're at.
Interesting idea.
Well,
Interesting idea.
like name one player now that's comfortably of AFL standard that plays at North Melbourne.
Wow, I mean, that's a challenging that's a challenging question because I don't know their list or anything like that. But I'm sure there's
Well,
at least one.
well, I mean the only ones that come to mind, obviously, Sean Higgins just got traded to Geelong. He's become a bit of a journeyman
Yeah,
again. Like, yeah, but he's far from his best. You'd say Jack Zeeble, but man, Zeeble hasn't been good in years.
no,
Yeah,
he's
he still
hopeless.
gets a
He
game because
absolutely
he's a thug
does.
these days. Yeah, so that if that's the position that North
Yeah,
Melbourne's
yeah.
in, if that's the way that the public views them,
All right,
I don't even think they get to come to the trade table. Quite frankly,
mate. Bar them from the trade table.
it's a situation where they speak up, like they start ringing other people, they ring the AFL, and they just get the response. They get a chuckle. And they go, all right, very cute, but the adults are speaking now. Go sit at the kiddie table.
Yeah, yeah. All
Mm.
right, mate. Let's wrap up trade week there because I think we've had a good conversation on
I know we've chalked up half the episode.
that. Well, maybe this one's a longer one anyway.
Yeah,
All right, mate. Well, our next topic is flog of the week, and I think I'll take this one, mate.
go for it.
So a few weeks ago, as our listeners would understand, we were meant to get audited at my work.
I can already see where this is going.
And I made the comment that my life is better than the company I work for. And it's true. Now, the auditor didn't come within that week when he said he was going to. And he then said, okay, it'll be the next week. He still hasn't fucking come. Now, he gave us his word that he would come for 2 goddamn weeks. And he did not come. Now, my life has been one constant sleepless fuck
Yeah.
up for the past month. I'm not happy, Chief. I am not happy. And now that Melbourne has opened up, guess where the dickhead is? He's down in fucking Melbourne.
Right.
Auditing down in Melbourne. Hang on a minute. I'm more important than those fuckers down there.
Where is he?
Come and audit my store.
For auditing, I imagine.
Well, I have no idea. But the dude that was meant to do our store is down in Melbourne auditing other stores. Now, I am not happy. I have to get up at the crack of dawn
Clearly.
and think, you know what? This could be the day. It could be the day here, only to get severely let down by this prick not turning up. You, sir, have made the list of flog of the week and possible candidate for flog of the year. If I find out where you live, you're going to get a trophy soon.
If I'm not, is he already been nominated, or has he been nominated in Grind My Gears before?
No, he hasn't been nominated.
Well, all right. So he's double heading for GTG or GMG, I should say, GMG, and Flog of the Week.
Yeah, he's hit the two-piece here, and
So he's making a strong case.
Yeah, he's making a seriously strong case.
Oh well done, sir. For presenting your case in such a spirited fashion. Good luck to you when we do the awards, if we ever get around to it.
Yeah, good luck come awards time.
Yeah, I certainly know who Turtle will be attributing his vote to at this point in time.
All right, grind my gears, mate. What has hit you this week?
Right. Do you know what's hit me this week? What's hit me this week is news media. In this country, and particularly in the US. And I'm sure this is the case in the UK and NZ and Canada and everything as well.
Yep.
Their coverage of the US election is without a doubt criminal. We could go through the long list of things they've done. I'm just going to name a few, the more egregious ones that I think. Now, in America, you've only got two sides. This is of the mainstream media. There's obviously a bunch of alternative sources now that sort of cater more towards the conservative side because there's fuck all on the conservative side now. But you have the majority of networks, so CNN, MSNBC, CBS, all that sort of jazz. Half of them claim to be centre or centrists. They're not. They're hard left. And you had the other side of things, which should have been Fox News, which should have been sort of centre right. And I should mention that there are still some people at Fox News that maintain that position, particularly Tucker Carlson and perhaps Sean Hannity. But the rest are all have completely just betrayed the right and abandoned Donald Trump in what is, by what seems daily, perhaps hourly, becoming a stronger and more convincing case for election fraud and voter fraud, as well as other things. Now, you now have a situation where all those networks, mainstream media, are cutting off feeds from the White House press secretary, a woman called Kayleigh McEnany, when she's in the middle of giving a fucking press release from the fucking White House. They get she gets a third of the way through, and she starts providing, say, evidence, or she's just about to provide evidence of voter fraud, and they cut her off. And they sprout lines like, I can't in good conscience let this continue because it's lies and yada, yada, yada. And then they go back and they say, so the White House, the Trump campaign, Trump team, has never presented a shred of evidence. You fuckers don't listen to the evidence ever because you keep cutting them off and you don't want the voting public to know. Meanwhile, at the fucking press conference, Kayleigh McEnany is literally waving around hundreds of affidavits. For our Australian viewers, that's the equivalent of a stat deck. So you can go to prison, or you can be litigated if you lie on a stat deck. Same as an affidavit. It is a legally binding document. So you would have to be a fucking moron to lie on it because, some sort of Republican or conservative leaning person comes and says, hey, sign this document. People just don't do that. And not in these numbers. Currently, the Republican team, or Trump's defense, has 4,000 fucking affidavits. 4,000. And yet all the news media says nothing to see here, no evidence, they're lying. Meanwhile, they call Biden the president-elect. He creates an office that doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the office of the president-elect. He just made it up, or they just made it up. It doesn't exist. And there's the news media and everyone calls him the president-elect. He's not, by the way. The election is not over. The only people that have called the election are the news media. They do not call elections. They do not have that power.
Yeah, right.
And it's actually a far more serious issue if we let them believe and we just surrender that power to them because they're not elected officials. There's no leash on them. So we can't let them have that power. The fact of the matter is there is still counting going on in the US election. There is still multiple states that has been called by the news media for Biden that gets him over the 270 electoral college votes that are contested. And if he loses them, and he only really needs to lose one. If he loses Arizona or he loses Pennsylvania, game's back on. 100% game's back on. And the thing about it is if he loses one state, he's actually very unlikely then to win other states. So the fact of the matter is the election is still on because none of the results have been certified yet. Now I forget the governing body that officially certifies the results, but until that is done, in the US Constitution, no one can be named the next president. So the media are lying to all of you. They're celebrating the streets is an absolute fucking lie. They are actively suppressing the conservative point of view from the Trump team. Facebook, YouTube,
Twitter, everything.
Twitter, especially fucking Twitter and Facebook. But also Google. Obviously, Google owns YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
They are actively suppressing conservative websites, conservative YouTube channels, any dissenting voices.
Yeah, well,
this is an absolute. I know I'm going on. But this is an absolute coup of information distribution in the West, and it is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most egregious and serious threats that the free world faces. This is proper Orwellian bullshit. People are not seeing this. And at some point, I promise you, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that shit like this at some point will lead to civil war within the West. And I tell you what, we think here in Australia that'll never happen. It is creeping in. We are usually 5 to 10 years behind the US in most things. It can happen here too.
Yep, we're not immune to it.
So, not a funny one, but what grinds my gears this week are fucking lies. Simple as that.
Very serious one too, mate.
The liars and the corrupt.
Yep. Exactly right. Right. All right, mate. Well, you've hit your target there pretty strongly, and I tend to agree with all of that, as you know. Let's get into a bit of a discussion.
Sure, let's lower the temperature a bit.
Well, lowering or just shifting it, maybe.
Sure.
So, it came to our knowledge. Well, not came to our knowledge, but throughout the past few weeks, we've discussed a few different topics about people, and we thought it would be prudent to discuss people's decisions under the age of 30.
Yeah.
Because we've hit a few topics, and I believe that you guys like us when we talk about these things, and we are aiming to bring you more of this content. Because I know that, well, I think I can speak for you, Chief, in that we both agree this is quite engaging and we enjoy these talks.
Well, I think these sort of talks speak to the majority of people because, again, I mean, this does tie back into the media suppression and the suppression of sort of centre right discussion points. Is that we've become societies of liars. The West, to me, has become a society of liars, where it happens on a really egregious and offensive scale in regards to, say, lying to the public, so lying to your voters. But then it also happens on a very micro scale, just between people. If someone asks you, oh, how's your day been? And you lie and say, oh yeah, no, it's been good. Da, 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 da. Might have been a fucking shit day. You ask, your mates do things, and again, something might piss you off.
Yeah.
Because they haven't kept their word, or whatever's happened. And again, you act as if it doesn't shit you. No, you need to be honest. Everyone, here's the thing. We need to be able to risk being offended. And that means we need to tell each other the truth. This is why I think we're seeing rises in stuff like transgenderism. A lot of these, sort of hot button topics with the left. Because people just aren't willing to tell other people, hey, that's fucking stupid. Or, and I'm not talking about transgenderism, I'm just saying, I'm using as an example. That particular thing you're doing is stupid, or that's wrong, or you shouldn't be doing that. We've lost our moral backbone as a society, I think, and it's just creating chaos.
Yeah, but it also starts from a younger age as well, though. As well, like you say that, yes, the media lies to the public, and they do. But like we're now coming into a generation now which have been completely brainwashed, I guess, for lack of a better word, into believing the far left's ideology. They're not willing to think about things for themselves.
Yeah. I think we raised the topic last week that a big failure right now of youth. When I say youth, I mean I'm including myself in that. I mean we're both 27. Um, I tell you what, I don't feel
Yeah,
particularly young, but apparently I am chronologically. But our generations, and this is why I struggle a little bit to understand this because I know my parents called a spade a spade. If I was being a little shit, I got a smack on the ass, and if I was being a big shit, I got a smack across the cheeks. I knew, and I know what's right and wrong. And the thing about that is there
yeah.
hasn't been a great deviation of that throughout my entire life. I've made mistakes just like everyone has, and I've pushed boundaries. But I've always, in my heart, known, okay, this is something that's acceptable for me to do, and this is something that's not acceptable for me to do.
Well, you know where the line is.
I know where the line is. Now that's come from my parents, flat out, no argument. No involvement from school or other sources. It's come from my parents, and then obviously, well, I should clarify this. As I've become older, then I've either solidified those views or I've modified them minutely, but enough to now reflect my view of the world and society, to better work for me in my situation. I just don't see that happening
Yeah.
with our generation, the generation before, so people that are in their early 30s currently, and the generations after. I don't know what's happened, but we grow up in this world where you cannot be told no. You cannot be told you're wrong, or you cannot be told you're lost.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I remember 2 weeks ago, I think it was, or 3 weeks ago, I made the comment. It starts at primary school level. You know, you get a participation medal for competing in a 100 meter dash when you're 7 years old.
Yeah.
When we were at school in that age bracket, it was first, second, third.
Yep.
Maybe fourth, maybe a fourth as well. I can't remember
Because wasn't it
but
like,
there was a definite first, second, and
yeah?
third.
Because what, first was blue, second was green, and third was red. I think. Or was second? No, I think second was red.
Yeah,
Sorry, I think second was red
second was
and
red.
third was green.
Yeah, third was green or fourth, and there's like a different
Yeah,
color
yeah,
uh, for third or fourth, whatever
yeah.
it is. Now, in life, you are just another number. As soon as you turn 18, you are just another number.
Yep.
You don't make any difference to a company whatsoever. And
Well, to a country as well.
well, to a country, yeah. You do not as an individual matter. If someone wants to fire you because you're not up to expectation level that they have, well then guess what? You're shown the door. See you later. You don't get a, oh, you know what? Thanks for participating.
Mm.
You're gone. And this is the problem that I have with this level of thinking. We're raising kids right from a young age to think that it's okay to be told that it's oh, to be told yes all the time. There's no acknowledgement of being told no, you're wrong, unless it's something completely far fetched. Where they've injured a kid, or I don't know, something along those lines.
Yeah, something impossible to deny.
Yeah, something impossible to deny. If it's something minute, they don't get told off for it. You don't get told, no, that's wrong. You need to do this. You need to do X. You need to do Y. You can't do R. You can't do S. You know, that's wrong. But they do those things, and it just grows, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and then you get these kids growing up believing that they can do no wrong. They believe they're invincible.
Let me ask you a question then.
Well,
Let me ask you a question.
yeah, yep.
So we're both coming to the period of our life where we could be parents, within sort of the next 5 years. Where do you stand on hitting your children?
I don't agree to do it in public.
Mm-hmm.
But behind closed doors, if they're being a little annoyance, then they do deserve a smack on the bottom.
So smack on the bottom. Okay. So I would go even further. Now, let me clarify, viewers, before we've got every bloody special interest in mums group and whatever fucking groups. Oh, child abusers. No, what I mean by hitting your children is a slap on the ass. Okay, so something that won't hurt them. Or I would go even further. I would say if the child has demonstrated a pattern of behaviour that is now getting out of hand and has become consistent, so it's becoming part of their character, and they are continually resisting your authority as a parent and potentially other authorities, so teachers and principals and whatnot. I reckon at some point a single backhand across the face, just the cheeks, does the trick. A single one, if it's consistent, there's a problem. But a single one, perhaps in their early teens, I reckon that solves a lot of issues. Because, people go, oh, it's abusive. No, it's not actually. It's a service to the child. Let me explain. You do that once, that child, whether they're 12 or they're 82, is always going to remember that. They're always going to remember their dad whacking them across the face once. Now, it doesn't really fucking hurt them, right? It doesn't break anything or bruise. It just stings. It's more the shock factor to the child. They go, holy fucking shit. There was actually a consequence to my actions. There is someone who is bigger, stronger, meaner, badder that will come and enforce the left and right of arc when I step outside said arc. That is a life lesson that should inform you, as I said, until your dying days. And very few people understand that. I'm very happy to say that happened to me. I used to be an absolute little shit when I was younger. Happened to me, and even though now I'm 27, my old man's 70, and if he was to do that today, I would laugh it off. But it doesn't matter. You as a child, you always remember that. You always remember there is someone who can enforce the consequences of the world upon you should you step out of line. So as far as I advocate it. Obviously, use it responsibly. But yeah, that's where I sit on that.
See, I think you raised a good point there. I think you knew about it, but not the smack across the cheeks. But it comes down to choices and consequences.
Mm.
I don't think parents these days, or enough parents, because I'm sure there are a lot of parents that do try and teach this. But I remember growing up. My parents were always for me doing something. They were always like, "Rightio, cool. If you want to go do that, but think about the consequences. Think about what's going to happen.
Mm.
Don't just go and do it mindlessly. If you want to go to the local footy on a Saturday to watch the seniors play, which is something that I did and I love doing, what does that affect in turn? Well, that affects me spending time with family, that me helping dad in the garden, me helping mum do whatever for my personal enjoyment. Now I may have at that point in time hated working in the garden and doing whatever it is with mum, so I chose to go to the footy. And now, granted, that's not a life-ending choice or consequence or action or anything like that, and I get that. But the thought is still there. It's still there. And right from a young age, mum and dad said, "Well, do you want to jump off the trampoline instead of getting down the trampoline?" And I'd think about it, and then I would just, get off the trampoline. I wouldn't jump off the trampoline because you
I jumped.
yeah, I know you would have jumped, but the consequences are if you jump too high and land poorly, well, guess what? You get a broken bone.
I just point out, viewers, I never broke a bone jumping from a trampoline.
But my point is, kids these days, they don't think about the consequences, and they don't think about what actions that they're taking and what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like the fact that you raised there a simple choice about choosing to go to the footy on a Saturday or spend time with your family. that's still like the choice is still the choice. The only difference is a scale, like the matter of scale. For example, we have, I wouldn't say we have a problem per se in this
Yeah,
country of youth crime, but certain areas of the country certainly do. Without going into different cultures and demographics and different areas of different cities, certain places, certain peoples absolutely do have issues with youth crime. Well, if a child, and they're 12, 13, right, decides I'm going to go into 7-Eleven and I'm going to steal a Kit Kat, does that harm anyone? Not really, not at all. But it's a choice. It's a choice to do the wrong thing. Now, the problem is you do that time and time again, and you continue to make that choice, despite the fact that you know it's wrong. Then it reduces your I guess resistance to making the same choice, because it is the same choice, but on a grander scale. All of a sudden, you graduate from getting, from stealing a Kit Kat bar at a 7-Eleven to
yeah,
robbing the 7-Eleven and committing a crime, because it's the same choice, just the scale is different. The issue is that that child just hasn't been taught, whether that's you know by his parents or grandparents, friends, the environment,
yeah,
whatever, that you can't just.
yeah,
There are consequences for your actions, and they do affect other. They first of all they'll affect you at some point. If they don't affect you immediately, they'll affect you at some point, and they affect other people. So I mean, we've deviated a little bit from our sort of discussion of bad choices under the age of 30. I think we'll continue it next week, proper with what we wanted to talk about. But this is still an important topic, whereby
yeah,
you're right. I think we as a society have lost the ability to educate our kids uh, properly, just like across the board. Perhaps that's a softening
yeah,
of our society. That's due to a softening, because now we have a lot more oversight of, like, there's a lot more intrusion into the family home and into the level of control or influence a parent has over their child. Now the child is also raised by, well, there's aspects of the law
yep,
that the parents have to also adhere to if they have a child, such as child abuse laws. Majority of them, I mean, it's probably not fair to say majority, but I'd say probably all of them are pretty reasonable and fair enough. I'm sure there are a few that overreach. Well, the parent has to contend with that. That they want to impart a lesson. How do you teach your kid something when you have, you know, when Big Brother, hopefully people get that reference. If Big Brother is sort of watching, oh, don't do this, don't do that, because the government says so, as well as the intrusion of technology, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. That's now forming an educational tool to your children, probably outside of your control and outside of your knowledge. You don't know what sites they're going on to. I mean, parents for ages, the big worry is like, well, if kids have access to the internet,
yeah.
um, will they have access to, say, porn at a young age? Well, yeah, likely they'll figure out, if they're so inclined, they'll figure out a way to view it. Even if you have parental locks and all that sort of jazz, they'll find a way to view it. It's more than porn, right? It's stuff, for example, like drug culture, it's stuff like crime culture, it's stuff like, for example, these far left ideological sites, which are now bloody mainstream.
I've I'm of the opinion that technology, and I think I've said this too a few times, technology is one of the greatest things that's ever been invented, but it's also one of the worst.
Yeah, it's definitely a double edged sword.
It's the fact that you and I can talk and we're in two completely different states. That's brilliant. That is
Mm.
absolutely brilliant. And if we chose to, we could use Zoom or FaceTime, whatever it is, to see face to face. That is absolutely brilliant.
Mate, you wouldn't want to see me face to face right now. I'm looking like an
Oh,
absolute shit.
yeah. So, or same, yeah.
Huh.
But the flip side of that is people take advantage of technology, and they have done as soon as it was created. And they don't. And technology isn't targeted.
Mm.
It's not targeted at people like you and I now. Now that we're 27, it's not targeted at you and I. Some parts of it is, sure, but the majority of it is targeted at the 12 to 18-year-olds, where social status is important to them. Now, I don't care where I stand socially. Like I don't care what the person walking next to me in the street thinks of me. I don't care. But to a 12 to 18-year-old, it is incredibly important what their friends see of them. And if they don't have the latest iPhone or they don't have the latest, I don't know, laptop or the
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi or the latest use on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. If you don't have a
Yeah.
TikTok and you're 13 years old, well, guess what, man? You're failing in life.
Yeah, I would also extend that to go, if you're not up to date and you're not following and you don't subscribe and you don't pledge allegiance to the latest ideologies, I would include that as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And these far left ideologies, they are using
Yeah,
these technologies
I think the problem, I mean, the reason
to,
why is because you mentioned at that age break, like 12 to
yeah,
18. I would extend that a little bit. I'd probably even push that out to 24. The reason being is because that sort
yep,
of, let's say that decade, right? I know it's a little bit over, but let's say 12 to 24. That's really when you start to establish your identity, who you are as a person, right? Now, look, it's not fair to say that everyone has established who they are and are comfortable with who they are and know their identity at our age by 27, although I think I'm closer to 28 now because I'm an old man.
I'm older than you, dickhead.
Um, oh, by 5 minutes.
3 minutes.
Um, okay, 30 minutes then. But you and I, because I think we grew up on those strong values and we knew our left and rights, we have established our identities. We know who we are. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for all of our peers at our age, even just a little bit older than us. But certainly that 12 to 24, that's when you're discovering who you are. The problem is that's the period of time where you are the most susceptible to indoctrination, where you are the most susceptible to negative
Yeah,
influences and negative experiences and just lies and mistruth because you don't know yet what's right and wrong because you're still learning. And you don't know yet and you don't have the confidence yet to think critically. And to say to someone, to have an argument presented to you, and that they could be Jordan fucking Peterson and present to you the most coherent, logical argument in the world. And just by the way, I quite like Jordan Peterson. I'm just using him as an example of a good orator. Um, you could have the most logical argument presented to you, but if you can't pause for a moment, think about what's said, and go, actually, no, even though that sounds really cool and really good, it's actually bullshit, and then have the confidence to say, no, sir, that you're wrong about that, you're wrong because of reasons A, B, C, D, then you're going to really struggle in life going forward. And it's a skill set that unfortunately I don't think we're teaching our youths in the West.
not anymore. Not anymore.
No.
All right, mate. I think we've broached a subject that we can probably talk about for hours. So
Yeah, hopefully next week we'll have that special guest who fucked off on
yeah,
us today and who we will lynch next week. Hopefully he'll be on next week, and we will talk more about this topic of the wrong choices made under the age of 30 because there's a few really important ones that I think we've sort of forgotten these days.
yeah, we got sidetracked, but not sidetracked in a bad way. I don't think. I think we got sidetracked in a good way. It wasn't the topic of discussion that we wanted to hit
Mate,
straight
any
up.
day I can run my mouth is a good day as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we've hit some key points here, and I really hope that our viewers and listeners take that on board and actually listen to the last half an hour because it's reality. It's the reality of how we live right now.
Yeah, I agree. They're uncomfortable truths sometimes, but they're truths that we need to understand and acknowledge nonetheless.
Well, yeah, yeah, absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. Anyway, Chief, I think I'll leave it to you there, mate.
That's it.
So, viewers and new viewers, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like, do whatever you need to do to get us big because we need money.
That's it. And actually, it is worth saying that because I think it's pretty clear sort of which side of the ideological spectrum we fall on. um, we're not going to get promoted at all, really, on any of these, on any of the the sites, and we're not going to fall favourably with any of the algorithms on YouTube or Facebook. So we really do rely on people sharing this, particularly sharing to get new viewers in, and really spread the message, or just expose new viewers to these questions. So we do very much rely on our little community we're growing. Hopefully, we can grow it exponentially in the next couple of months. But that's all just down to your support. So the Chiefs, sorry, the Turtles, right, guys? If you can like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, particularly comment down in the comment section if there's topics you want us to talk about, because we do want to have that sort of engagement with our. I hate to use the word community, but with our viewership, I suppose. So yeah, with that,
Yeah,
we'll
we are.
go ahead, mate.
I was going to say we are open to talking about a whole host of different things too. So don't be afraid to type something in the chat and fear that we're going to reject it.
Yeah, I will just if it's a dumb idea, I will name and shame you and say that it's a dumb idea.
uh, all right, mate. Well, I'm the turtle. Peace
That's
out,
it.
guys.
Apparently, I'm the chief. Yeah, catch you later, guys.